Hey friends, so I wanted to take some time to do some videos on just like the basics of the ventral vagal, the dorsal vagal, the sympathetic vagal states, according to the polyvagal theory, as best I understand them. So let's start with dorsal, which when we are thinking about polyvagal theory, one of the important concepts is that these three circuits of the vagus nerve operate in a good metaphor for it is a ladder. So at the bottom of the ladder is dorsal, and moving up the ladder is sympathetic, and at the top of the ladder is ventral. That's not like a better or worse hierarchy, that's a movement pattern. So if we're in dorsal, we have to move through sympathetic to get to ventral. If we're in sympathetic, we have to move through sympathetic up towards ventral. If we're in sympathetic and we burn ourselves out, we can pop back down to dorsal, and then we have to repeat moving up back through sympathetic. So this is important because a lot of people have been taught to be chill or to be calm, thinking that that's the like best place to be. And so when they're in dorsal and their system naturally pulls them up towards sympathetic in order to get to ventral, where we have more homeostasis, um, they can get up into sympathetic and then they start to get scared and they don't want to be there because it feels like irritation and anger, and they've been trained so much to be calm. So they bump themselves back down or burn themselves out back down into dorsal. And I just made a video about like how to effectively mobilize up through sympathetic. So I'll link that below. But basically, dorsal is not good or bad. None of the nervous system states are good or bad. Dorsal is can be both a defense response and a restorative response. So there is no good or bad. I'm just putting link effective video. Okay. So dorsal, when it's in a defense response, can feel like how people describe depression and disassociation. A good question to ask yourself to see if you're more towards dorsal is to say, would you like to crawl into a cave and never see anyone again? And if you're more towards a dorsal, your system will go, ah, yes, please. If you're feeling more mobilized or more like sympathetic or more ventral, and you say that to yourself, your system will be like, no, definitely not. I want to get out of the cave. Um, so when you're feeling more immobilized or dorsal, you can have less of an appetite. You can have constipation. You can feel a little brain foggy. It can be hard to put thoughts together. You can feel really low motivation, like you don't want to get out of bed, like nothing sounds fun. Again, people associate this with depression or disassociation. Functional freeze is a term that's been used for like chronic dorsal. And dorsal in a defensive state can be like a big weight on you. It can feel very like you just have so much heaviness, like you're dragging through life. Dorsal in a rest and digest kind of way is not the defensive state. And that's when dorsal is like a real healthy sleep. Okay. So you can, when you're sleeping, you're restoring things, you're healing, you're repairing, you're doing all, like digestion, all of these good things. If you're having really fitful sleep, then it's less likely that that's happening, but you can have like a really solid good sleep and all this rest digest stuff happens. Dorsal can also be blended with ventral. So if you're at a ventral place where you're feeling calm and connected, and you sort of have access to wherever you want to go to support the moment, you can scoop up some of that dorsal and do things like intimate conversations, intimate or vulnerable conversations, or sexuality. You can have meditation and prayer, just contemplation, mindfulness in like a quieter, mellower way. So if you're sitting and reading or sitting and cuddling with a kiddo or an animal or a loved one, or you're meditating or praying, if you're calm and connected to the present moment, that can be that dorsal ventral. Now, a lot of us have tried to meditate and end up disassociating because that quiet comes and then our like unhealed parts come forward and want to check in with us. And a lot of us disassociate. So meditation is not necessarily dorsal ventral. So keep an eye on that. Make sure that if you're meditating, that you're connecting with the present moment via your senses, and that can be that dorsal ventral. All right. Any other questions that you have about dorsal, put them in the comments. I want to get this information as clear as I can for folks. So thanks so much and love you.